मम्मी का कॉल आ रहा है।
So everyone has joined. We are still waiting for someone.
Sir, Anamika and Ruchi won't join.
You won't join.
Mm.
Okay. Who else will not join? Okay, no worries. Whoever wants to join, they will join. Who do not want to join, they will not join. Okay. So we'll keep admitting as and when they will join, right? Now, anything which is pending from the previous topics? Any input, any information that you seek? Any assignment?
So in last class we were talking about training and development, and we ended our class on ADDIE model, and the assignment was so you gave us like the difference between teacher, trainer, facilitator, coach, and mentor.
Correct.
That's
So 5 topics, 5 words. So could you get any difference between any of them, among any of them? What is the difference?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what are the difference?
Sir, I have made a presentation. Do I have to present it or?
Okay,
Just
quickly, if any one of you can share it.
Sir, I
Let us
can
do
share.
the assignment. Yeah.
Sir, is my screen visible?
No, not yet. You are visible.
Sir, now?
Yeah, now I think it will come.
Sir, there was an assignment which in which we'll have to differentiate between a teacher, a mentor, a trainer, a coach, and a facilitator. So, sir, for many people, it's a wholesome, a similar concept, but the only real commonality among these are that these are 4 different profession council which are counseling a group of people. The differences are subtle, but they can be clearly identified. Teacher are tend to be more didactic. In other words, teachers instruct and inform their student very much like a process. The teacher explains what is new for the students and what a student needs to learn to obtain a specific certificate. This is the pure transfer of knowledge. It is mainly a one-way street, which with information being transferred from the teacher to the students, enabling them to learn and apply the knowledge. In mentor, we can see that mentoring involves instructing, guiding, coaching someone seeking to master a particular field that you have already mastered. Though mentoring is very content focused, but still it often uses teaching, training, and coaching as well. It requires that the trainer have specific knowledge in the subject of that training. The job of the trainer is to impart knowledge or skills to his student using variety of methods at his disposal. A trainer will look at what you are good at and what you need to be better at. They might provide tips and ideas to you for the same. This often involves practical skills. Training is not about gathering knowledge, rather it is more about gathering the skills. Coach. The meaning of the term coach varies widely. A coach is not necessarily someone who has good command of the subject matter. For instance, a good tennis coach doesn't need to have had international success to make you a top tennis player. The coach will look for ways to maximize your potential and uses a range of different methods. Facilitator, on the other hand, as it is normally understood, refers to managing and maintaining a group process. The primary focus of facilitator is on how the process is going on in the group, where the teacher, trainer, and coach are concerned with the content and process of counseling. A facilitator is only involved in the process. The knowledge of and the responsibility of the content lie with the group itself.
That what is the difference? It's good. How did you understood what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then now tell me one by one again.
Sir,
What do you understand?
Sir, in teaching, we need to give the knowledge which are based on which we can say a bookish type of knowledge is being transferred within the student and the teachers. In trainer, it is most likely to be we can say it is a goal oriented thing. A trainer will teach you something which is goal oriented. That is, for example, if we are going to an organization, there will be a trainer which will be training us to be more productive in our department. Not as they will not teach us as a whole, but they will teach us the specific knowledge which we can use in our department. How can we achieve our goal and all of that. A coach is, we can say, the term is used mainly for sports, where a coach sees your skills, what type of skill do you need, and what is not there in you, what is lacking in your personality. They will cover up that. A mentor is basically a mentor will basically guide you for something like you are good at that thing, but you need a direction. So mentor will be giving you the direction, and facilitator is basically they are not going to give you knowledge or something, but just to, again, mentor and facilitator are, we can say, a bit same. They both are a bit same, not exactly, but two sides of the same coin. No, a facilitator, on the other hand, it just guide you. It just guide a group. Facilitator, I didn't understand facilitator that much.
Okay. A teacher teaches you everything. You know, the alphabet is taught by a teacher. So the very fundamental education or knowledge is provided by the teacher. trainer will educate you on the skills. Trainer will educate you on the skills. He'll train you. He'll not teach you the basics, but he'll train you on how to speak. He'll not teach you ABCD. Yeah, but he will train you on, as you already know, the basics of English. You already know the grammar. I'll train you on the speaking pattern. That is a trainer. Coach will correct those small errors that you make even after training. When you say sports, there are not trainers, there are teachers. There is a physical trainer. But coach will not teach you, he will not train you. He'll tell you that you play your game. I'll tell you that, okay, if this kind of situation happens, this is how you have to do. So that is coaching. He'll just fine tune the things. So coaching is on the skill. Mentoring is on the personality. So everything, your behavior, your attitude, your knowledge, your skill. Okay, so therefore there's a mentoring. Facilitator will just plug in the gaps. He'll facilitate. Some activity is going on, you struck somewhere, he'll facilitate. Okay, now do this. That's all. Again, you continue. Right? So this is the fundamental difference as far as understanding is concerned. All right? Yeah, Bushra?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you all can also have similar things. A table with 5 different columns. Okay. So what teacher, facilitator, coach, mentor, and trainer. So that way you can share it. You can share it to the group. I'll also share some master version of the same. Once you all will share your versions too, right? Okay. So the another area when we talk about human resource management, there is another critical area. See, though we started that learning and development of fundamentals because it was in continuation to the performance appraisal. Okay. Further details, ma'am will continue. So we have already understood the ADDIE model, the other details and other strategies, ma'am will continue when she'll start taking the lectures. However, the fundamentals we have already discussed. So we'll, go and switch over to another vertical of human resource management. And we will talk about something on the compliance part. We'll learn something on the compliance. All right. So being in human resource, whenever you are leading the human resource department, from HRD, there is another vertical, which vertical talks about the compliance. Compliance, matlab, what is compliance? What does compliance means? Yes. Heard about this word anytime?
Compliance means complying all rules and regulations.
Yes, to follow.
Yes.
Follow all the rules and regulations or necessary rules and regulations. That is what compliance means. So there are certain instructions, certain guidelines, certain rules and regulations which you need to comply in order to have smooth and safe operations. Okay. So compliance is another vertical which as a human resource manager or human resource head, you need to look into. Okay. So when we talk about compliances, what we talk about is various laws कानून, है ना, and the rules of that law. Okay, so बहुत सारे एक्ट हैं, कानून हैं, और बाद में रिस्पेक्टिव एक्ट के साथ में अलग अलग गवर्नमेंट्स, अलग अलग स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स, अलग अलग स्टेट बॉडीज अपने स्टेट की रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से उसके कुछ नीति नियम बनाते हैं, उसको रूल्स बोलते हैं. ओके, सो देयर आर सेंट्रल एक्ट्स एंड देन देयर आर स्टेट रूल्स. In certain cases, there are central rules as well. देश कैसे चलता है? How your country moves?
The constitution.
Constitution. Perfect. Perfect. Constitution. So constitution is a rule book, okay, which guides the entire administration of the nation. Okay, कैसे चलेगा देश? Constitution से derive होता है. Then there are penal code, IPC. Okay, so that is on law and order. Correct. Similarly, there are labor laws which are used to monitor the industrial activities. Okay. So there are various acts, various laws which are there to guide the industries, employees, and employers on various aspects of working. है ना? कायदों की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है हमको?
So that everything is running smoothly without any barriers.
Correct. So that लोग अपने अपने हिसाब से चीजों को ना मैनेज करें, है ना? लोगों की जरूरतों का ध्यान रखा जाए. The need of the people is taken care of, and in case there is a variation, in case there is a violation, there are provisions of correction. It may be punishment, it may be anything, right? So there are various acts and laws for industrial works, okay, which are used or are being referred from time to time to address and to run your organizations. Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so here if you can see, there are certain acts with the year of enactment which are generally for industries and industry related activities. Okay. And then now there are four codes, there are four labor codes which have been created by amalgamating these different acts and laws. Okay. Now if you see, these acts are almost 100 years old. You know, certain acts are before the independence, certain acts are around independence, certain acts are post independence. Okay. So if you see, there are Workmen Compensation Act 1923, Trade Union Act 1926, Payment of Wages Act 1936, Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946, ID Act, Industrial Dispute Act 1947, Factories Act 1948, Minimum Wages Act, ESIC, Employees State Insurance Act, Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act, Employment Exchange Act, Maternity Benefit Act, Apprentice Act, payment of bonus, contract labor management, payment of gratuity, equal remuneration, interstate migration, Shops and Commercial Establishment Act, and Sexual Harassment Act. So these are certain acts which, as an HR professional, you should know prima facie. Okay, it is not very easy to remember each and every act, each and every section of the act, but at least we should know the spirit of that act, that why that act was created, or what was the basic objective of that particular act. Okay. So most referred acts generally are ID Act, Industrial Dispute Act, Standing Order Act, that is Industrial Employment and Standing Order Act, Factories Act, Contract Labor Act. Okay, these are major, widely referred acts. So we will see quickly almost all of them so that we have an idea or understanding about what act is used for what purpose. Okay, I'll try to go by chronology, that is enactment year. So how it happens is all these acts or these laws are first discussed in the parliament. Okay, so there is a committee, standing committee. That committee decides, they forms the rules, regulations. Then it is being discussed in the parliament. Parliament gives a go ahead that, okay, these acts are necessary, all amendments are correct. And then it goes to the president endorses it. Then it goes to the gazette. So the gazette hoga, that will be the enactment. दो पास, जैसे चारों चार लेबर कोड ये पास हो गए हैं, लेकिन अभी तक प्रैक्टिस में नहीं है क्योंकि अभी तक वो गैजेट नहीं हुए, अभी तक उनको पब्लिक यूटिलाइजेशन के लिए अप्रूवल नहीं मिला है. ठीक है. So enactment year is the year in which that act was made applicable. Right? Okay. Almost all the acts have similar things. The way it has been written, they are almost similar. What we need to know is the applicability of the act, certain definitions, of the act. Then there are annexures. Forms, annexures. Okay, in act they are known as schedule. हम जैसे attachment करते हैं, तो in acts they are schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3, schedule 4, something like that. Correct. So we begin with the first one, the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. The enactment of this act is visible. The screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the Workmen Employees Compensation Act 1923. The date of enactment was 1st July 1924. Okay, the act name is 1923. It was gazetted on 1st July 1924. So applicability is 1924. And then there was amendment in 2017. Amendment मतलब changes. एक कानून बनाया बाद में 2017 में पार्लियामेंट में डिस्कस करके उसमें कुछ चेंजेस उन्होंने इनकॉर्पोरेट किए. So that is known as amendment. So act remains same, but certain clause schedules may change. So that is called amendment. So this was the first act under social justice. And the purpose of this act was to decide, in case of any eventuality, how the compensation to the affected party to be derived. फैक्ट्री में काम करते करते कोई इंसिडेंट हो गया, कोई एक्सीडेंट हो गया, उस केस में कॉम्पनसेशन को कैसे गिनेंगे या कैसे कॉम्पनसेट करना चाहिए, टू सेट दैट criteria, this act was enacted. The purpose of this act was to have compensation guidelines in case of any eventuality. हाथ टूट गया, पैर टूट गया, आंखें चली गई, कान कट गए, उंगलियां कट गई. You know, if there is someone deceased, how the compensation would be derived, what should be the guidelines that it should have been paid. Because earlier what used to happen was, perhaps everybody would decide according to their own. Someone may give, someone may not give. You know, if an employer is good, he will provide. If the employer is not good, he will not provide. If someone got a damage, someone got an injury, they will always say that, okay, he was careless. ध्यान नहीं रखा तो चोट लग गया उसमें. Why should I compensate? Why should I pay? Right? So, under such circumstances, it was necessary to have one such act that can decide the boundaries of compensation in case of any eventuality. Okay. So, before 2017, things were different. In 2017, there were certain amendments. There were certain amendments that was made in 2017. And it was also named as Employees Compensation Act. If you see, the initial name was the Workmen Compensation Act. Later on, it was amended as the Employees Compensation Act. The reason was to neutralize the gender diversity and to include everyone. To include everyone, even the person doing some clerical job also was a part of this Employees Compensation Act. Workmen लगता है खाली आदमियों के लिए. Therefore, it became employees, so that everybody, male, female, and transgender, all are covered in this act now. So that was one of the social reason. Then, in section 17A, certain clause was changed. This says A17A means amended. Section 17 पहले से था, उसमें A clause amend किया. So this clause was added. It was added. The purpose of this addition was that it is employer's duty to make the employee aware about this particular act. है ना, ये मालिक की जिम्मेदारी है कि वो अपने कर्मचारियों को बताए कि इस तरह का कोई कायदा है, कानून है, जिसके तहत अगर कुछ हो गया तो आपको क्या क्या लाभ मिल सकते हैं. That was an amendment, that was a clause added. और उसको इस तरह से लिख के बताना है जिससे लोग उसको समझ सके. In writing as well as through electronic means in language as may be understood by the employees. Okay.
Sir,
Haji?
Sir, if we can understand this act through an incident, can we take Bhopal gas tragedy as an incident to understand this act?
Bhopal gas tragedy was a big tragedy. Okay. So it need not to be that big. It need not to be that big. It became very controversial matter, Bhopal gas tragedy. It was a huge incident, but a small incident that, you know, you injured your finger, you injured your foot, you injured one of your hand, you lost your limb, you know, you lost the eyesight. So even for such small things, also there should be a provision, right? So Bhopal gas tragedy was a huge, it was a disaster. Okay, so the entire organization, entire community was at stake, right? But this is pertaining to the employment. Okay. Then another section, section 18A, where penalties have been increased from 5,000 rupees to 50,000 or up to 1 lakh rupees if employer fails to inform employees his or her right to compensation act under this act. तो सेक्शन 18 में ये परिवर्तन लाया कि जो पेनल्टी का रकम था 5,000 रुपया, उसको बढ़ा के 50,000 और किसी किसी केस में 1 लाख तक का भी जुर्माना लगेगा अगर आपने उसको बताया नहीं तो। अगर कहीं कुछ सुनवाई बराबर नहीं हुई है, अगर किसी मामले में सुनवाई बराबर नहीं हुई है, ठीक से नहीं हुई है, तो आप हाई कोर्ट में अपील कर सकते हैं अगर मामला 300 रुपए का हो तो। ऐसा पहले कहा था, 2017 में उसको चेंज करके बोला अगर 10,000 रुपए या उससे ज्यादा की रकम है जो डिस्प्यूटेड है, जिसके ऊपर विवाद है, उस केस में आप हाई कोर्ट में अपील कर सकते हैं। उसके नीचे की सारी चीजें आपके लोकल लेवल पे ही मैनेज होंगी, लेबर कोर्ट से ही हैंडल होंगी। और एक सेक्शन था सेक्शन 30A, उसको निकाल दिया। उसमें था कि अगर मैटर कोर्ट में पेंडिंग है तो एम्प्लॉयर किसी भी तरह का कंपनसेशन अमाउंट रोक नहीं सकता। पहले ऐसा था कि अगर मैटर कोर्ट में पेंडिंग है तो एम्प्लॉयर पैसे नहीं देगा, बोले दिस मैटर इज अंडर डिस्कशन, आई विल नॉट गिव द कॉम्पनसेशन, राइट? But then the section 30A was omitted. So 4 omissions, 4 changes in 2017. First, the name was changed to Employees Compensation Act. Then 2 sections, 17A and 18AE added. 1 correction where penalty was changed from 5,000 to 50,000. The amount for higher appeal increased from 300 rupees to 10,000 rupees, and 1 section 30A omitted. So if the matter is even pending with the court, one cannot withhold the compensation amount. आप किसी का compensation amount रोक नहीं सकते as an employer, right? So ये 4 चीजें थी, ये 4 correction थे जो 2017 में आए, ठीक है ना? इसको हम बाद में भी पढ़ सकते हैं और पहले भी पढ़ सकते हैं, चॉइस इज आवर्स, हाउ यू वांट टू टेक इट। नाउ this is how it looks like. When we say gadget, this is the Gadget of India, which endorses and publishes the government announcements, okay, which are in public interest. So this is amendment, the Employees Compensation Amendment Act 2017, number 11 of 2017. 2017 में 11वां amendment था. So the act further to amend the Employees Compensation Act 1923, जिसके बारे में हम अभी बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो क्या क्या चेंजेस हुए जिसकी अभी हमने बात की. These changes were gazetted 12 अप्रैल 2017 में. So the act may be called as Employees Compensation Amendment Act. It shall come in force from such date when it is published. 17A. Okay, 18A subsection 1. E, there was a correction. Section E added, fails to inform the employees of his right to compensation as required in 17A. In the long line for the words which may extend to 5,000 rupees, the word which shall not be less than 50,000 rupees, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. 50,000 से कम नहीं होगा और 1 लाख तक भी जा सकता है. Section 30A shall be omitted. So these are the gadget where the amendment has came in force, right? And here is the act. The Workmen Compensation 1923. It was on 5th March 1923, enacted on 1st July. Okay. I think it has 8 chapters. Now, how to read this? Everything may not be necessary as a practitioner also. Okay, but still we should know which section has what. So generally, chapter 1 has the definition, applicability, etc. Chapter 1, section 1 says short title, extent and commencement. It extends to whole of India. Okay, you all know certain things that in certain acts, it would be written where it is applicable. It is a central act and this extends to whole of the India, including Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, certain acts will have an exclusive mention that this act is extended to whole of India, excluding Jammu and Kashmir, territory of Jammu and Kashmir or XYZ locations. So certain acts may not be applicable to certain areas. However, generally all the acts are applicable to almost whole of the country. Okay. So when you will read the act, you will know that this act is applicable to which part or which area. Okay. Now it came in force on the 1st day of July 1924. The date of enactment was 1st July 1924. ठीक है, मार्च 1923 में ये प्रस्ताव पारित हुआ. 5 मार्च 1923 में ये पारित हुआ, कानून बना. लेकिन इस कानून का अनुपालन कब से हुआ? 1 जुलाई 2024 से. So 1 जुलाई 2024 को ये लागू हुआ. It got enacted on 1st July 1924. गैजेट हुआ 1 जुलाई 1924 को. ठीक है. And then 2017 में there was an amendment. Amendment मतलब changes या corrections. Okay. Chapter 1, section 2. Section 2 talks about definition. Okay. So what means what? Now this is important. This is important for all of us to understand that in every act, you will have a definition section. Okay. And the definition may be same or vary as per act. Okay. So, for example, the word employee, employee can be defined differently in different acts. One act will say employee, other act may say workman, other act may say something else, right? So definition of employee or definition of workman may vary from act to act. Okay, so as an exercise in the days to come, not immediately tomorrow, but what I'll suggest that in all these acts, whatever word are critical, important, you'll take a note of that word and try to get the definition of that word across various acts. Means the word family, yeah, word dependent. If you remember, we were talking about we were discussing about family. You remember? In one of the session, we were talking about family when we were talking about insurance, that why not parents included in family? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I'm
Yes,
single,
sir.
why only my spouse and children? Why not my parents? Okay. So the definition of dependent, the definition of family will vary from act to act. So as we grow further, what you will do is you will keep the word in X column. A column में हमने लिखा dependent. So dependent as per Employees Compensation Act 1923. What is the definition? As per Factories Act, what is the definition? As per Industrial Dispute Act, what is the definition? As per Payment of Minimum Wage, what is the definition? As per EIC, what is the definition? As per PF, what is the definition? So is it same or it is different?
Sir, it is different.
It may be.
Yes, sir.
It may be different. Okay. So as a pattern to learn, this is how you will learn. इंग्लिश ग्रामर सीखते हैं ना, इंग्लिश ग्रामर कैसे सीखते हैं? एक ही शब्द को हर टेंस में सेट करके रखते हैं, है ना? मैं खाता हूं, मैं खाता था, मैं खाता रहूंगा, मैंने खाया, मैं खा चुका हूं, मैं खा चुका था, मैं खाऊंगा, मैं खा के रुकूंगा. Right? Same word you do in different tenses. So you write all those, English letters similarly. Yeah, Mr. Steve.
Sir, it may happen that dependent is not mentioned in all the acts. So
yes, it may happen.
It may happen. And the thing is, we can get these definition or this kind of PDF easily on Google.
Google.
Yes, sir. We can get.
You can get. Okay. So as we are discussing this Employees Compensation Act, I'll put up this on the group. So whatever act we will discuss, I'll put up that, the literature, whatever I have, I'll put up on the group. You can take it from there. And other acts you can explore. सब याद नहीं रहेगा, फिर भी मोटे तौर पे हमको पता होना चाहिए कि किस परिस्थिति में हम कौन से एक्ट को रेफर करेंगे. ठीक है. तो जहां पैसे की बात आएगी, वहां फैमिली आएगा, है ना, वहां डिपेंडेंट आएंगे. तो ऐसे कौन कौन से एक्ट है जो पैसे के बारे में बात करते हैं? कॉम्पनसेशन एक्ट, मिनिमम वेज एक्ट, पेमेंट ऑफ वेजेस एक्ट, ESIC, PF, ग्रेजुटी, ये कुछ ऐसे एक्ट है जहां पे फोकस इज ऑन द सोशल सिक्योरिटी. ओके, व्हिच मींस इफ आई एम नॉट देयर, हु इज द बेनिफिशियरी? अगर मुझे कुछ हो गया तो किसको मिलेगा कॉम्पनसेशन? ओके, सो ऑल सच एक्ट्स मे हैव डिपेंडेंट और फैमिली एज अ डेफिनेशन. Am I making sense?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as you said that yes, every act may not have such definitions. True. Okay, ID Act may not have, Factories Act may not have, Shops and Establishment Act may not have. So all the acts may not have all these definitions, but whichever act has this definition, you have to keep a track of it, that okay, how a workman is defined in various acts, how a family is defined in various acts, how the dependent has been defined in various acts. Correct? Okay. So the definitions, commissioner. So commissioner is the authority. इसी एक्ट की section number 20 में how to appoint a commissioner has been defined. So as per that clause, who is the commissioner? So definition of the commissioner for a workman's compensation appointed under section 20. Section 20 मतलब इसी एक्ट के 20 नंबर के सेक्शन में कमिश्नर कौन होगा वो डिफाइन किया है. ठीक है. Compensation means compensation as provided for by this act. इस एक्ट में जैसा बताया गया उसके साथ कंपनसेशन मतलब मुआवजा है ना. हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? हिंदी में बोलते हैं मुआवजा. इन लिeu ऑफ कुछ हुआ उसके एवज में आपको कुछ मिलेगा. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड कॉम्पनसेशन, मुआवजा. ओके, नाउ द इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग. Section 2D of this act, section 2D of this act details about the dependent. The calculation of compensation is okay, that has been given. What is important to understand for this act are 3-4 things. Who is dependent? Who is an employee? Under what conditions compensation is to be given? ये 3 चीजें हैं जो they are the gist of this act. किसको मिलेगा? एम्प्लॉय मतलब कौन? डिपेंडेंट मतलब कौन? एंड compensation किस कंडीशन में मिलेगा? What are the criteria when one is eligible for the compensation? And if he is not a survivor, then who else can get the benefit? ठीक है. So जिस ऑर्डर में यहां अपीयर होगा उसी ऑर्डर में बेनिफिट मिलेंगे. So anybody cannot be dependent. Even if you are single, by default your father will not be a dependent for this particular act. Okay. So what it says, who is the dependent? The very first dependent is whom? A widow, a minor legitimate son. See, the act has, very specific things. The words have been very categorically mentioned. A widow, vidwa, agar, if X is an employee, if he dies, the first claimant, the first dependent, here the word is dependent, not family. Right? Here the word is dependent. मेरे को कुछ होगा तो किसको फर्क पड़ेगा? है ना? So सबसे पहले फर्क किसको पड़ेगा? Widow, whether it is male or female. है ना? Widow or widowed. Okay. So widow, a minor legitimate son. A minor legitimate son. एक जायज लेकिन नाबालिग लड़का. तो पहले विधवा, अगर वो नहीं है तो नाबालिग है लेकिन जायज है. जायज मतलब उनका खुद का बच्चा, गोद लिया हो, ऐसा नहीं. The legitimate, minor legitimate son and unmarried legitimate daughter. डॉटर के केस में माइनर मेजर नहीं है. सन के केस में माइनर है लेकिन डॉटर के केस में माइनर या मेजर नहीं है, इट इज अनमैरिड. So as long as the daughter is unmarried, she is the dependent of father. Right? So a widow, a minor legitimate son, an unmarried legitimate daughter. Or a widowed mother. है ना?
So didn't get this. Widowed mother.
Widowed mother is your mother, if your father is deceased.
So, sir, that come in widow option, no?
No, widow is my wife. It says a widowed mother. There is a difference. So if I am the employee, and if I decease means if I expire. In case of first beneficiary will be my widow. Okay, that is my wife. Right? She is not there. I am not married. Okay. So I cannot have a son. Not necessary. I can have. Okay. So if it is minor legitimate son, okay, it's not there. Unmarried legitimate daughter, no, she is also not there. My mother, provided she is a widow, means my father expired, me and my mother are the two people. In that case, a widowed mother is my dependent. Had my father been alive, my widowed mother would not be a dependent of me. Right?
Okay, sir, got it.
The difference between a widow and widowed mother. Correct? Making sense?
Yes, sir.
Understanding?
Yes, sir.
Interesting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So things are not so simple when we talk about, acts because of the claims and other things. Okay. So that is clause number 1, 5D1. It talks about your immediate family, a widow, a minor legitimate son, an unmarried legitimate daughter, or a widowed mother. Okay. So widow and widowed mother, right? That is a change. Okay. Who's next?
D2, if wholly dependent on the earnings of the workman at the time of his death, a son or a daughter who has attained the age of 18 years and who is infirm.
Infirm. Who is infirm. INFIRM, infirm. What is infirm?
I don't know.
What is infirm? Infirm is disabled.
Sir, weak.
Specially able.
Mentally and physically strong.
Sorry?
Okay, sir.
Sir, not mentally and physically strong. So the
Correct.
child who is
Absolutely. So in the first case, it says that a minor legitimate son, okay, unmarried legitimate daughter, widowed mother. In second, if none of them exist, there is a child who is not minor. That is a child who is not minor but is infirm, means he is specially able, physically and mentally not fit. In that case, he or she becomes the dependent of the deceased. ठीक है?
Sir, if in case these categories are working, like they are financially independent, then also this will this law will
Yes,
be
yes, yes.
applicable on them.
Yeah. Say, me and my wife, I am working, I got some injury. My wife is also employed, but she can claim the compensation. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So even if I'm deceased, she can claim the compensation. So this clause 3 also answers a question. If wholly or in part dependent on the earnings of the workman at the time of his death. पूरी तरह से या आंशिक रूप से अगर आप मृतक पर डिपेंडेंट हैं, आश्रित हैं, उस केस में कौन होगा डिपेंडेंट? अ विडोअर. विडोअर इज हु इज विडोअर?
So
The male.
deceased life partner.
The male, the male whose life partner, whose spouse is expired. So if wife is working and she is deceased, in case even the husband is working, he is partially dependent on the earnings of his wife. In that case, he can also be a dependent. Right? A parent other than widowed mother. A parent other than widowed mother. तो कौन हुआ? जनरली फादर.
Yes.
है ना? तो ये उसी ऑर्डर में, अगर वो नहीं है तो ये, वो नहीं है तो ये, वो नहीं है तो ये, वो नहीं है तो ये. राइट? A minor illegitimate son, an unmarried illegitimate daughter, or a daughter, whether legitimate या illegitimate. When we say illegitimate, it means adopted. उसकी जायज बच्ची नहीं है या जायज बच्चा नहीं है, आपने गोद लिया, आपके साथ रह रहा है, आपका नाम दिया आपने. In that case, it becomes illegitimate. Again, all these things becomes a matter of interpretation and discussion in case there is a case. So the court of law, how an advocate would interpret all these things, they are different. But for understanding purpose, who all makes a family and why the definition of family is so stringent or specific. As we were discussing the other day, it's not on the emotion part, but on the practical aspects. All right. So parent other than widow, a minor illegitimate son, an unmarried illegitimate daughter, or a daughter, whether it is legitimate or illegitimate, married and a minor, or if widowed and a minor. लड़की चाहे जायज हो, नाजायज हो, लेजिटिमेट और इलेजिटिमेट, अगर शादी हो गई है और बच्ची है, 18 साल से कम है और शादीशुदा है, शी इज एन डिपेंडेंट. और इवन शी इज ए माइनर एंड विडो, शी इज ए डिपेंडेंट. ओके. अच्छा, ये कोई नहीं है तो अगला कौन? देन भाई.
Sir, in the C section, if the girl is below 18 years of age and is widowed, that the meaning वही है ना?
Correct. Absolutely. So if widowed and a minor, so the age is below 18 and is widowed. ठीक है. अच्छा, ये कोई नहीं है पत्नी नहीं, बच्चे नहीं, पिताजी नहीं, माताजी नहीं। इन दैट केस अगर भाई है और माइनर है, छोटा भाई, वयस्क नहीं है, अवयस्क, he will become the dependent of the employee. और unmarried sister, अगर बहन है, though she is not minor, major है, adult है, but unmarried है, she becomes the dependent. और a widowed sister if a minor, बहन अगर छोटी है, मतलब अवयस्क है लेकिन विधवा है, तो उस केस में she also becomes the dependent of workman. ठीक है। A widowed daughter in law, बहू, a widowed daughter in law मतलब मेरी बहू, so my son is not alive but his wife is alive and anything goes wrong with me, in that case she becomes the dependent. ठीक है। Then minor child of a predeceased son, minor child of a predeceased son मतलब मेरा पोता या पोती जिसके खुद के माताजी पिताजी नहीं, जिसके पिताजी नहीं।
Sir, but if there is a widowed daughter-in-law, then the she will be dependent, no?
She will be dependent. She will be dependent. दोनों नहीं है। एक्सीडेंट हुआ, फादर मदर दोनों एक्सपायर हो गए, बच्चा मेरे भरोसे था, somehow something went wrong with me. So in that case, that child whose parents are not there, especially father is not alive, then that minor child will also become the dependent and is entitled for the benefits. Then clause G, a minor child of a predeceased daughter where no parent of the child is alive. A minor child of a predeceased daughter where no parent of the child is alive मतलब उसके माताजी पिताजी दोनों नहीं है, बच्ची है मतलब लड़की, कर्मचारी की लड़की अगर एक्सपायर हो जाती है और उस लड़की को एक बच्चा है लेकिन उस बच्चे के पापा भी नहीं, इन दैट केस वो बच्चा मेरा डिपेंडेंट हो सकता है, उस कर्मचारी का डिपेंडेंट हो सकता है, प्रोवाइडेड बाकी ऊपर के सारी चीजें निल हैं, नॉट एप्लीकेबल। ठीक है। So employee's wife also not there, passed away, expired. Children are not there, they also expired. Now only this thing is left. So then it becomes a dependent. A paternal grandparent if no parent of the workman is alive. Paternal grandparent मतलब लड़के के दादा, अगर उसका फादर अलाइव नहीं है तो, गेटिंग? पक्का?
Yes, sir.
सभी लोग?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Hima,
Yes, sir.
you understood?
Yes, sir.
आकृति, प्राची,
Yes, sir.
पक्का?
Yes, sir.
तो बताओ कौन डिपेंडेंट है कौन डिपेंडेंट नहीं है?
सर एम्प्लॉयर को छोड़, जो एम्प्लॉई है उसको छोड़ के
चलो
बाकी
मान लो एम्प्लॉय का नाम है एक्स, सो मिस्टर एक्स इज एन एम्प्लॉय, मिस्टर एक्स मर गए, मिस्टर एक्स गुजर गए, तो सबसे पहले कौन होगा कॉम्पनसेशन क्लेम करने के लिए?
His wife. His
Wife.
वाइफ
Wife.
वाइफ, ओके, तो उसको क्या बोलते हैं?
widow.
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 ओके, मिस्टर एक्स की वाइफ मिस वाई, मिस वाई भी नहीं है तो
His son.
Minor legitimate son.
Legitimate.
His
Minor
minor
legitimate son.
illegitimate son.
अच्छा, उन दोनों को कोई बच्चा नहीं था. बच्चा है लेकिन उसकी उम्र 25 साल है.
Sir,
Can he be the dependent?
Sir, if
No, sir.
Sir,
No,
if the
sir.
child is a daughter, then she is dependent. Otherwise, if the child is a son, he is not dependent.
Child is a daughter, then she is dependent,
And not married.
provided she is
unmarried
not
also.
married. Correct. Provided she is unmarried. Okay. But if this child is son and his age is 25,
No, sir.
No.
Then the mother of that employee, that male, will be the dependent. Widowed mother.
correct. Widowed mother, right? So if the son is 25 and is infirm, then he is dependent. है ना? Otherwise, the
Yes.
widowed mother. Okay. Mr. X के पिताजी जिंदा है.
Sir, one question. As you just said, if the son is 25 and infirm, then the widowed mother will get second.
Next priority, right. It will be the same order, the order in which it has been listed here. It will be in the same order. So if the first is ruled out, then second is ruled out, then third is ruled out, then fourth is ruled out, then 5. So if a widow is alive, the grandchild cannot be a dependent.
Okay,
If
sir.
Mr. X's father is alive, then his mother cannot be a dependent on Mr. X. She will be the dependent of his father. Right? So that is how it has been enacted. That is how it has been, defined. Correct?
Yes.
Interesting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
सर,
हाँ जी.
एक एक्ट में था कि अगर उनकी बेटी 18 साल से छोटी हो और विडो हो, तो सर चाइल्ड मैरिज एक्ट तो बहुत पहले ही आ गया है, तो अगर उसके बाद होता है तो वो एक क्वेश्चन मार्क नहीं खड़ा करता है.
1923 में कानून बना था आकृति. ये जो एक्ट
Yes,
हम अभी
sir,
डिस्कस
तो
कर रहे हैं,
अभी भी
कॉम्पनसेशन एक्ट, दिस वाज इन 1923. इवन टुडे देयर मे बी केसेस, वो अलग आईपीसी में चलेगा. बाल विवाह जो है उसका कानून आईपीसी में अलग से चल सकता है केस. लेकिन अगर परिस्थितियां ऐसी हैं, उस केस में क्या होगा, तो उसका प्रोविजन इस एक्ट है ना. बाल विवाह अपने आप में
Okay.
कानूनन जुर्म है, तो उस पर तो पुलिस केस होगा, वो चलेगा इंडियन पीनल कोड में. लेकिन अगर ऐसी कोई परिस्थितियां हैं, उस केस में बच्चों के साथ कोई नाइंसाफी ना हो, उसका प्रोविजन इस केस में दिया है. क्योंकि तब जब ये 1923 में बना, उस टाइम पर किसी ने गौर नहीं किया होगा इस बात पे कि ये एज जो है माइनर और विडो पॉसिबल नहीं होना चाहिए. What you're thinking is correct. What you're thinking is absolutely right. That how is it possible that a girl who is a minor can be widowed? You know, because a minor girl or minor boy cannot marry. That's true. Right? But this is the case now. In those days, perhaps it was not there. So there would be child marriage. There would be, people getting married at the very early age. 14 साल 15 साल की एज में. Therefore, they have kept this provision. है ना? Okay, then comes the definition of employer. Employer मतलब आपको जिसने नौकरी पे रखा है वो. So who is an employer? Employer includes any body of persons, whether incorporated or not, and any managing agent of an employer and the legal representative of a deceased employer, and when the services of workmen are temporarily lent or let on hire to another person by the person with whom the workman has entered into a contract of the service or apprenticeship, means such other person while the workman is working for him. Employer मतलब लोगों का ऐसा कोई भी समूह जो संगठित हो या असंगठित हो. सो डायरेक्टर, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर, ऑक्यूपायर, ये सब टर्म्स हैं जो इंडस्ट्री में यूज होती है. ठीक है. सो ऑल दे बिकम्स योर एम्प्लॉयर. कंपनी में कंपनी को चलाने के लिए जो भी लोग हैं, संगठित हो या असंगठित हो, ठीक है, दे बिकम्स योर एम्प्लॉयर. अच्छा, वो अगर मरमरा गए, JRD Tata started a company, he deceased, so his successor will be the employer. Nobody is there, the legal representative becomes the employer. एम्प्लॉयर मतलब आपको काम पे रखने वाला, जो आपकी सैलरी वेजेस को प्रोसेस करेगा, जो आपको पेमेंट करेगा, जो आपको सूचनाएं देगा. ठीक है ना. दे आर द एम्प्लॉयर्स, जो आपको काम पे रखता है. अगर आप एक पार्टी के यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं और उसने काम के सिलसिले में आपको दूसरी जगह भेजा जहां आप उस दूसरे आदमी के ऑर्डर को फॉलो कर रहे हैं, तो वो दूसरा आदमी आपका एम्प्लॉयर हो जाएगा. ठीक है. दिस डेफिनेशन हैज टू बी रेड, शांति से और कई बार. एम्प्लॉयर इंक्लूड्स एनी बॉडी ऑफ पर्संस. इट इज नॉट एनी बडी, राइट, इट इज एनी बॉडी. बॉडी मतलब समूह, दल, ऑफ पर्संस, वेदर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड और नॉट, संगठित हो या नहीं, कोई नाम दिया हो या नहीं दिया हो, है ना. एक कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी, तो उसमें जो भी उसका मालिक है वो आपका एम्प्लॉयर है. एनी मैनेजिंग एजेंट ऑफ द एम्प्लॉयर, या उस व्यक्ति का कोई ऐसा बंदा जो उस पूरे कामकाज को मैनेज कर रहा है ना. कंपनी के डायरेक्टर या मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर, दे बिकम्स द एम्प्लॉयर. कंपनी उनकी नहीं है, बट दे आर मैनेजिंग ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ समवन. मालिक की जगह पे उस पूरी कंपनी के ऑपरेशन को वो मैनेज कर रहे हैं, तो मैनेजिंग एजेंट. ओके, हु एल्स? लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ डिसीज्ड एम्प्लॉयर. जिसने आपको काम पे रखा, उसका कोई लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, कोई वकील है, कोई संस्था है, कोई एजेंसी है, जो अब उस व्यक्ति की गैर हाजिरी में कंपनी के कामकाज को संभाल रही है, तो एम्प्लॉयर हो गया. When the service of workmen are temporarily lent or let on hire to another person, मेरे पास एक आदमी था, मैंने उसको दूसरी जगह भेज दिया काम करने के लिए टेम्पररीली, तो वो दूसरा आदमी जो है, जिसके यहाँ मेरा आदमी काम कर रहा है, वो उसका एम्प्लॉयर हो गया. ठीक है. सो डिपेंडेंट एम्प्लॉयर. मैनेजिंग एजेंट मीन्स कोई आदमी जो आपके मालिक की जगह पे काम कर रहा है. ओके, दैट यू कैन रीड. माइनर, ए पर्सन हु हैज नॉट अटेन्ड द एज ऑफ 18 years. ठीक है. चाइल्ड लेबर के बारे में हम बात करेंगे. ओके, बट कोई ऐसा एक्ट होगा जिसमें वो बोलेगा आप 14 साल से कम की उम्र के बच्चे को नहीं रख सकते, 15 से 18 के बच्चे को आप रख सकते हो काम पे. ठीक है. सो हियर द डेफिनेशन ऑफ माइनर इज एनीबडी हुज एज इज बिलो 18 years, who has not attained the age of 18 years is a minor. ठीक है. सो देन What is dependent? Who is employer? Who is managing agent? Who is minor? Now, important thing is who is an employee? Who is an employee? ये 2G जो है ना, इसको हम थोड़ी देर बाद पढ़ेंगे. Just a minute, I think there is some disconnect. Okay. Partial disablement. Now there are different kind of disablements. Okay. So partial and total. Disablement we will study a little later. Today only, but in some time. Okay. Now look at this. Who is an employee? Who is an employee? Seaman. समुद्र में मछली पकड़ने जाने के लिए या रिग में काम करने के लिए, कहीं भी समुद्र में काम करने के लिए, एनी क्रू ऑफ द शिप, जहाज का क्रू मेंबर, okay, he is a seaman. Okay. So who are under were covered as employees, were known as employees. So an employee is a railway servant as defined in Railways Act 1989. Now again, there are certain acts which are not applicable to railways, not applicable to mines, not applicable to other fields. Okay, but then this Compensation Act, in this act, An employee means anybody who a railway servant as defined in Railways Act 1989. So in case if the compensation case is of railway, then it has to be read with Compensation Act along with Railways Act. Okay. Then who else? A master, a seaman, or crew members of the ship. So master is the captain. When we say seaman, seaman means all the crew members other than master. खलासी हुआ, साफ सफाई करने वाला हुआ, बाकी लोग जो हुए सामान उठाने वाले, वो सब हुए crew member. Master is the captain of the ship. Okay, the captain or the other members of the crew of aircraft. A person recruited as driver, helper, mechanic, cleaner, or in any other capacity in connection with a motor vehicle. गाड़ी चला रहे हैं आप, आपने ड्राइवर रखा, आपका कोई हेल्पर है, क्लीनर बोलते हैं उसको हम साथ में, है ना, कंडक्टर है, मैकेनिक है, मोटर व्हीकल से जुड़ा हुआ कोई भी आदमी किसी भी कैपेसिटी में काम करने वाला आदमी होगा, he will be an employee. He can be one of the claimant. A person recruited in India and working abroad. A person recruited in India and working abroad, जिसको हमने नौकरी पे यहाँ रखा लेकिन काम विदेश में कर रहा है, वो भी एम्प्लॉय है. He or she is also a workman, right? इंटरनेशनल प्रोजेक्ट पे काम करने के लिए हमने उसको अमेरिका भेज दिया, कंपनी इंडिया का, so we employed here, sent it to US, United States of America, but still he is an employee. Employed in any such capacity as is specified in Schedule 2, whether the contract of employment was made before or after this act, expressed or implied, oral or in writing. So Schedule 2 क्या है? Schedule 2 is an annexure. Schedule 2 is an annexure of this act.
But sir, why give privilege to some like seaman, crew member, or the driver, helper?
No, they in Motor Vehicle Act. In Motor Vehicle Act, there would be a mention, right? In Motor Vehicle Act, there would be a mention of driver or cleaner. So if I am a manager, I have employed someone as my driver, then he also becomes the employee for my company. Got it?
Yes, sir, I got that, but I didn't get that this part. Why these terms only mention here specifically? Instead of that, it could have been like all the members working in any organizations. It could have been like that.
No. Then it becomes everybody. Na? Here in this case, you have outsourced certain services, and this is the course of employment. Your driver or mechanic, helper, they are with you at the time of that incident. Therefore, it has been made exclusive based on certain information and input. So it is not that everybody will get this benefit. Everybody would be covered. So all those who are employees, they are employees. But other than employees, who else? Who else? There are different other acts. But when it is a compensation matter, along with that Motor Vehicle Act, this act should also be referred. So ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरी गाड़ी को चला रहा था, तीसरा आदमी था, तो उसको मैं compensation नहीं दूंगा अगर एक्सीडेंट हो गया. Okay. Therefore, it has been included in this act.
Okay, sir, got it.
Okay. And then other than this, as you said, na, all. So Schedule 2 जो है, Schedule 2 speaks about who all are employees. Schedule 2 of the Act speaks about who all. So as I said, schedule 2 is what? Schedules are annexures. Section 2(1) ka schedule 2. So list of person who subject to the provision of section 2(1) and are included in the definition of workman. किसको किसको workman की category में गिना जाएगा? So this entire schedule will talk about almost everyone. Okay. तो कुछ specifically हमने ऊपर बात सुना पढ़ा, उसके अलावा बाकी लोग employed otherwise in a clerical capacity or in railway with operation and maintenance, lift, vehicle propelled by steam or other mechanical power or electrical power, loading or unloading of any such vehicle. Then employed otherwise than in clerical capacity in any premise wherein the persons whereof manufacturing process as defined in clause K of section 2 of Factories Act 1948. तो फैक्ट्रीज एक्ट में सेक्शन 2 में जो लिखा है वो भी यहाँ एम्प्लॉय है. Employed for the purpose of making, altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, or otherwise adapting for use, transport, or sale any article or part of an article in any premise within the person of employed. Okay. So all these people becomes the employee or workman as per this particular act, right? So schedule 2 will talk about who all are the employees, right? Who all are the workmen. Another important aspect of this particular act, armed forces are not part of it. That's all. Armed forces hai, Sena, armed forces, member of armed forces are not part of, are not, they will not refer this particular act for compensation because they have their own other different governing methods, right? So member of armed forces and employees covered under ESIC will not be considered as employees as per Employees Compensation Act 1923. Okay.
Sir, armed force and
Armed forces and the person covered under ESI Act. तो अगर आप ESIC में हैं तो आपको compensation act के हिसाब से benefit नहीं मिलेंगे. Okay, so therefore those employees covered under ESIC will not be considered as employees for compensation purpose, right? Because the same thing is applicable under ESIC. Therefore, you will get the compensation there. So interesting thing is that the definition of dependent or definition of family will be same in this both the act or they are different. Okay, so that you can check that how it has been defined in both these acts, the Employees Compensation Act and the ESIC Act. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
थोड़ा heavy है ना?
Yes, sir. But
Yes.
I think in theory it's heavy, but in practical, I think it will be much easier. What is
Sir,
your sir experience?
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask this question. What have you ever come across this situation where you have to deal with this act and all?
See, generally what happens that companies have different policies in line with these acts. Okay. So this act is largely for those people where these policies or company welfare activities are not in practice. Okay. Generally in good companies, they have far more better compensation structure. Therefore, the nitty-gritties of this act are generally bypassed. Still, it is important to have the nominations. It is important to have the nomination details. to keep it bit easy, because ultimately then there becomes a conflict of interest. Father, in case of a disease, the wife will also claim, the son will also claim, the brother will also claim. Okay, to avoid all these things, the legality says that, okay, whoever you have nominated would be the legal hire. If there is no one, then go to the court, get a certificate of legal hire, and the company will give the compensation. Okay. Now here the amount of compensation is not too much as per the act. But then companies or good companies, they get associated with good insurance companies. They have their own good benevolent funds or good benevolent plans, wherein a deceased or any dependent of the deceased, will get more than what has been mentioned in this compensation act. The need of this act is to protect. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि कुछ दुर्घटना की स्थिति में वो जो एम्प्लॉय है उसका फैमिली सफर करे, ठीक है, तो उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए ये एक्ट, एंड द कंपनीज, दिस इज द मिनिमम, इसके बियॉन्ड आप जो भी देंगे वो एक्सेप्टेबल है. So certain companies will say, okay, in case of an eventuality, say if it is a death, we'll give you 10 lakh rupees to the family. So much beyond this compensation act. अच्छा, किसको देना है वो अगेन डिपेंड करता है उसके नॉमिनेशन पे. उसने उसके पीएफ में, उसने उसके ग्रेजुएटी में जिसको भी नॉमिनेट किया होगा, बाय डिफॉल्ट दे बिकम द लीगल हायर टू रिसीव दिस क्लेम अमाउंट. In case of dispute, the amount is paid to the labor commissioner. Okay, and then on successful redressal of the dispute, the amount is paid to the the concerned party. ठीक है, मैं ही उनका बच्चा हूं, मैं उनका बच्चा हूं, दो बच्चे झगड़ पड़े. So what company will do? Company will deposit this entire compensation amount with the labor commissioner. That was, this is the dispute and this is the amount as per our calculation. Okay, and once the dispute is settled, you may award this compensation to the legal hire or whosoever is appropriate, right? So in that case, the court will decide, the labor court or tribunal will decide whom to compensate. Okay. Now, when this compensation is applicable, कब मिलेगा? So it is always applicable in case of disablement, okay, or death. In case of disablement or death. Okay. Now, disablement can be either partial or total. Partial disablement or total disablement. So partial is temporary in nature, which reduces the earning capacity. It does not stop totally, but reduces the earning capacity. Is partial disablement.
So, for example, we can take leg fracture.
Sorry?
So, for example, we can take leg fracture.
Fracture.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fracture is a partial disablement. एक हाथ कट गया, partial disablement. दोनों कट गए, total disablement. His earning capacity is 0. काम ऐसा था कि जो उसके दाहिने हाथ से कर सकता है, बाएं हाथ से पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. दाएं हाथ कट गया, total disablement. His earning capacity is 0, capsized. He cannot earn. His livelihood is gone. है ना? The skill that he was using to encash is not there. Limb, पैर टूट गया, cricketer है ना? His entire earning is on the cricket. पैर टूट गया, gone. Total disablement, right? So partial disablement, where your earning is impacted temporarily, and total disablement means when your earning capacity is impacted or affected permanently.
Then, sir, compensation will be on that basis.
Accordingly, yes. So partial disablement and total disablement. So in case of partial disablement, the compensation will be such, and in total disablement, the compensation will be in different way, right?
Okay, sir.
अगर टेम्पररी में अगर कुछ टाइम लैप्स के बाद वो ठीक हो जाता है 12 मंथ्स और 2-3 इयर्स के बाद, तो वही टाइम के लिए मिलेगा और उसके बाद रुक जाएगा।
उसके बाद उसको कंपनसेशन मिलना बंद हो जाएगा क्योंकि उसका अर्निंग रेगुलर हो जाएगा, है ना? Here, one more thing is important to understand. The place of incident. Yeah, the place of accident. So it is an accident arising out of employment or during the course of employment. काम की वजह से या काम के दौरान अगर कोई दुर्घटना होती है, उस केस में ही आप कॉम्पनसेशन के लिए हकदार होते हैं, राइट? ठीक है। आप ऑफिस में थे, पड़ोसी के साथ आपका झगड़ा हो गया था, दोपहर में पड़ोसी आया, उसने आपको चाकू मार दिया। Can you claim the compensation from the employer? No, you cannot. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So any incident which is arising out of employment, काम कर रहे थे, क्रेन से इंस्ट्रूमेंट छटक के आपके ऊपर गिर गया, पैर टूट गया, arising out of employment. काम की वजह से आप कहीं ट्रैवल कर रहे थे, रास्ते में गाड़ी का एक्सीडेंट हुआ, आपको चोट लग गई, ड्यूरिंग कोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, वेदर इट इज विद इन द प्रीमाइस और आउट ऑफ द प्रीमाइस। लेकिन अगर जब आपको दुर्घटना घटी, जब आपको क्षति पहुंची, उस वक्त आप काम की वजह से ट्रैवल कर रहे थे, इट इज ड्यूरिंग कोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट। काम की जगह पे है, कुछ दुर्घटना हुई, आउट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, ओके, which resulting into loss of earning capacity of an employee. So that is called disablement. ऑफिस से निकले, घर जा रहे थे, रास्ते में बाइक पटक दिया, पैर फूट गया, सुबह आके कंपनी में क्लेम डाल दिया, मेरा 50,000 रुपए का चोट पेट लग गया, तो कंपनी को मुझे डिसेबलमेंट कंपेंसेशन देना चाहिए। नॉट पॉसिबल। आने जाने के लिए कंपनी ने गाड़ी घोड़ा दिया है, उसमें आया जाया करो, उसमें कुछ होगा, कंपनसेशन मिलेगा, है ना? ट्रेन का एक्सीडेंट होता है तो ट्रेन में घायल और मृतकों को सरकार अनुदान देती है ना? ट्रैक में कोई बीच में चल रहा था, वो भी उस दुर्घटना मर गया, उसको अनुदान नहीं मिलेगा, है ना? वो उसकी गलती से, उसकी बहादुरी से ट्रैक के बीच में चल रहा था, बट जो बेचारे अंदर बैठे थे उनकी कोई गलती नहीं थी, ट्रैक खराब था, ड्राइवर की गलती, इसके लिए पलट गया। You have questions, Srishti?
Yes, you said if the employee is using the vehicle of organization, then if accident happen of employee work, अगर काम के बाद अगर एक्सीडेंट हो रहा है, even the employee is using organization vehicle, then he can claim for
course of employment. कोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, आप कंपनी के ट्रांसपोर्ट से घर जा रहे हैं या ऑफिस आ रहे हैं, कोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट। आप रोज कंपनी की बस में आते थे, आज बाइक लेके आए, और कुछ हुआ, then you may not claim. You may not get the benefit.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
And sir,
हाँ,
if the employee is using the organization vehicle for his own any remote transports, then sir, if in that case,
whether it is out of employment, मतलब काम के सिलसिले में वो कंपनी की गाड़ी लेके निकला तो,
sir. If not, then no.
then no. ऑफिस में हार्ट अटैक आ गया, ऑफिस में काम करते करते हार्ट अटैक आ गया, क्या करोगे? whether it is a one can claim the compensation.
Yes, sir. They can be claim it like due to work pressure that person get heart attack.
Correct. So
Got it.
if you can justify that this attack was because of the work, it is out of employment. मजे का नौकरी है, कुर्सी पे बैठने का, आके आप रिटायरमेंट के आसपास हैं, कोई काम करने का जरूरत नहीं है, आप आते हैं, बैठते हैं आराम से, हाँ भाई चाय लाओ, पानी लाओ, और एकदम छाती में दर्द हुआ, अस्पताल में गए, एंजियोग्राफी, एंजियोप्लास्टी, कंपनी में बिल भेज दिया, प्रोवाइडेड you are not covered under Mediclaim or something like that. Okay, and then you say that I am eligible for compensation. So you as an HR can deny, boss, your heart attack is because of your own lifestyle, not because of the work. So it is not out of employment. Although it is during course of employment, but it is not out of employment. काम की वजह से नहीं हुआ। तो काम की वजह से और काम के दौरान अगर कोई दुर्घटना होती है, in that case only you are eligible. Okay, and then compensation will depend on type of disablement, whether it is partial or total. ठीक है, तो schedule 1 of this act talks about the partial disablement or the total disablement clause. Okay.
Yes.
आप बताएं वो हार्ट अटैक वाला एग्जांपल, तो हम प्रूफ कैसे करेंगे कि उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट के वजह से हुआ है या नहीं?
कौन सा
सर हार्ट अटैक वाला एग्जांपल, तो उनको वर्क प्रेशर के वजह से हुआ है या नहीं, ये प्रूफ कैसे करेंगे?
हमें बताया ना, तुम एकदम आराम पसंद हो, मजे से आते हो, मजे से जाते हो, कोई बातचीत नहीं करना, कोई काम नहीं करना, कोई शॉप फ्लोर का राउंड नहीं, दोपहर में मस्त आराम से एकदम घी वाला रोटी, तड़के वाला दाल, काम के तरीके से मालूम पड़ता है ना प्रेशर है कि नहीं है। तो अगर हमको दिखता है कि उनका जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन में से कोई स्ट्रेस नहीं है, उनके रोल में ऐसा कोई स्ट्रेस नहीं है, कोई उनको पूछता नहीं है, बताता नहीं है, कोई ज्यादा परेशानी नहीं है, so in that case this is not out of employment. It can be during the course of employment but not necessarily be out of employment. आप खेत में काम कर रहे हो, बिजली गिरी आपके ऊपर, खेत में काम कर रहे हैं, बिजली गिरी और हाथ पैर बेकार हो गए, कॉम्पनसेशन का क्लेम डालोगे तो?
So natural disaster doesn't
टोटल डिसेबलमेंट है।
natural disaster include or not? That is the case. Like natural disaster compensation will be there or not?
It says any disablement. It says any incident which is out of employment and during the course of employment, which results in loss of earning capacity of an employee, is a disablement. आपने मजदूर रखे थे आपकी खेत में काम करने के लिए, बिजली गिरी ऊपर से, और एक मजदूर के हाथ पैर फेल हो गए, तो आप एचआर मैनेजर हो, आप क्या करोगे? कंपनसेशन दोगे नहीं दोगे?
Yes,
ह्यूमैनिटी छोड़
I
दो,
see.
ह्यूमैनिटी छोड़ दो, ह्यूमैनिटी ग्राउंड पे नहीं।
So because of the natural disaster, this compensation will be denied. That is
ऐसा
not
ऐसा
right.
ऐसा
sir.
ऐसा कहाँ लिखा है? ऐसा कहाँ लिखा है?
That okay, that is not the case.
क्या लिखा है?
No, sir.
Okay, I am not telling you right now. Read this. We again have a class tomorrow. Read this and let me know.
So, but if
क्या possibilities है? The scenario is you are an employer. You hired some labor. फील्ड में काम कर रहे थे, बिजली गिरी तो उसमें से एक मजदूर के उसको समझो पैरालिसिस हो गया, हाथ पैर उसके फेल हो गए, ओके, एंड देन उसने कॉम्पनसेशन के लिए अर्जी किया, साहब मुझे पैसा मिलना चाहिए, तो मिलेगा या नहीं विद इन द पेरिफेरी ऑफ द एक्ट, ठीक है ना?
okay, sir.
So that you read and we'll discuss tomorrow about
Okay,
it.
sir.
Here what we need to remember is, as a practitioner, number one, who is an employee? Number two, the incident out of employment and during course of employment. Number three, whether it is partial or total. Okay, so schedule 1, part 2 of schedule 1, it talks about all those injuries or diseases which are partial disablement. ठीक है? So what you'll do is you'll read schedule 1. You will read schedule 1. So that will give you the list of injuries or diseases which can be total or partial disablement.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है? Multiple diseases हैं, okay? Multiple diseases हैं. एक आंख फूट गई, एक कान कट गया, एक हाथ उड़ गया, पैर की 4-5 उंगलियां कट गई, ठीक है, रीढ़ की हड्डी टूट गई. अभी इंडिविजुअल ये सब पार्शियल डिसेबलमेंट होंगे, है ना? ये 4 लिम्स, एक चला गया, पार्शियल डिसेबलमेंट. 2 आंख है, एक से दिखना बंद हो गया, पार्शियल डिसेबलमेंट. एक पहले से फूटी थी, दूसरी आप फूट गई, टोटल डिसेबलमेंट. पैर की 4 उंगलियां कट गई, 2 पसली टूट गई. अगर ये सब मिला के टोटल डिसेबलमेंट 100% से ऊपर होता है ना, एवरी पार्शियल डिसेबलमेंट हैज ए परसेंटेज, है ना? मतलब अगर आपका एक हाथ चला जाएगा तो मान लो 50% डिसेबलमेंट है, एक हाथ एक पैर चला गया 100% डिसेबलमेंट हो गया, एक आंख चलेगी 30% डिसेबलमेंट. Every part of the body has a different weightage or significance. Accordingly, the disablement is in terms of percentage, it is calculated. Okay, a medical practitioner, generally a civil surgeon, they tell that your disablement is 20%, 30%, 40% disablement. Okay, और full disease, ये आदमी कभी ठीक नहीं हो पाएगा, इसका हाथ कभी काम नहीं कर पाएगा, 100% disablement. Okay, so if the cumulative is more than 100%, ये सारी टूट फूट का इकट्ठा करके अगर सब मिला के 100% से ज्यादा होता है, so in that case it will be considered as total permanent disability. It will be total disablement. It will be total disablement. बहुत सारे अलग अलग पार्शियल डिसेबलमेंट को एक साथ जोड़ेंगे और अगर उसका टोटल 100% से ज्यादा होता है कॉम्पनसेशन का या डिसेबलमेंट परसेंटेज का, देन इट बिकम्स टोटल disablement.
In that case, then the employee will be मतलब काम से निकाल दिया जाएगा because there is a total disablement.
हो सकता है कि वो काम ना कर पाए, निकाल देने का मतलब वो काम ना कर पाए, या उसको ऐसी जगह रखेंगे जहां पे वो काम कर सकता है. So even after giving the the compensation, the employment may continue, may not continue. It depends on the physical capacity of an individual. He should not be susceptible to further accidents. आंखों से दिखता नहीं, सिक्योरिटी का काम दे दिए, नहीं कर सकते. आंखों से दिखता नहीं, क्वालिटी में बैठा दिया, नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है, बट कोई ऐसा काम जो वो कर सकता है, अगर ब्रेल सीख लेगा तो लेटर इन्वर्ट कर सकता है, लेटर आउटवर्ट कर सकता है, तो ठीक है, कुरियर में हम उसको बिठा सकते हैं, है ना. So no total disablement. If something can be done where there is no risk for him and to the organization, it can be done.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, if a person claimed for the partial disablement, but further that person become totally disabled. So after a few days, suppose, so the company will give the compensation based on his partial disablement or
Total
disablement.
Total.
Okay.
There are certain case studies. Okay, so that you can refer based on the interest and time available. Lipton India Limited versus Gokul Chandra Mandal. Lipton India Limited versus Gokul Chand Mandal. This is one case that you can refer for understanding. Then another case was V. Jairaj versus TP Transport Corporation. V. Jairaj versus TP Transport Corporation. एक कान में बिल्कुल सुनाई देना बंद हो गया, दूसरे कान में थोड़ा बहुत सुनाई देता था. That was the case. Okay, so Schedule 1, you please read Schedule 1 of this Act. That will talk about the disablement, partial and total. Okay, another thing that you need to know when we calculate the compensation, on what basis. Okay, so there is a word called wage. There is a word called wage. So wage is again defined in this Act. Includes any privilege or benefit which is capable of being estimated in money other than traveling allowance, or the value of any traveling concession or a contribution paid by employer of a workman towards any pension or provident fund, or a sum paid to workmen to cover any special expenses entailed on him by the nature of his employment. हर वो चीज जिसको पैसे में रूपांतरित किया जा सकता है, खाली उसके ट्रैवलिंग अलाउंसेस को छोड़ के. ठीक है, या उसका पीएफ, ग्रेजुएट पेंशन, पीएफ में जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है उसको माइनस करके, या ऐसा कोई स्पेशल एक्सपेंस जो उसको उसके काम के लिए दिया जाता है, जैसे इंसेंटिव हो गया, कमीशन हो गया, उसके अलावा जो भी कुछ वो कमा रहा है, दैट बिकम्स द वेज। ठीक है। डेफिनेशन ऑफ वेज विल वेरी फ्रॉम एक्ट टू एक्ट, हर एक्ट में वेज का डेफिनेशन अलग अलग होगा। यहाँ वेज का मतलब क्या है? यहाँ वेज का मतलब है हर वो बेनिफिट जिसको हम पैसे में रूपांतरित कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन अलाउंस वगैरह को छोड़ के, कमीशन पीएफ वो सब हटा के जो बचेगा उसको हम वेज में गिनेंगे। ठीक है। Now, tomorrow we will see how this compensation amount is calculated. Okay. In
Okay,
tomorrow's
sir.
session, the liability of employer and employee, कब वो compensation claim करेगा तो employer मना कर सकता है, compensation claim करे और employer मना कर सकता है, ऐसा कब हो सकता है? सेक्शन 3A में उसका डिटेल्स है। जैसे उसका जो भी अंग भंग हुआ वो 3 दिन से कम समय में ठीक हो गया। So if it did not extend beyond 3 days, employer may deny, I will not give you any compensation for this injury because it is neither permanent nor total disablement. ठीक है। या दारू फारू पिया है, जब ये दुर्घटना हुई तब किसी भी प्रकार के नशे के अधीन था, शराब, ड्रग्स, employer can deny the compensation because it can be because of the carelessness or influence of those drugs or drinks, और willful disobedience, जानबूझ के लापरवाही करना। आप देख रहे हो वहां पे गड्ढा खुद रहा है, ऐसा मुंडी झुका के देखने के अंदर सुलग गए। You know that the condition are unsafe, still you went there and then you met with an accident. Employer can deny. तुम्हारा काम नहीं था, वहां क्यों गए? या तुमको पता है यहाँ जब जाओगे हेलमेट पहनना चाहिए, पैर में जूता पहनना चाहिए, पैर में लग गया लोखंड का रॉड, विदाउट सेफ्टी शूज आप गए प्लांट में, then employer can deny the compensation that no, you are not entitled. Okay, any safety bypass, कुछ लॉकिंग था, कुछ इंटरलॉक था, कुछ सेफ्टी मेजर्स थे, आपने उसको बाईपास कर दिया, उसको इग्नोर कर दिया। ट्रेन क्रॉसिंग पे अगर फाटक है तो फाटक बंद होना चाहिए, है ना? फाटक बंद था, उसके नीचे से बाइक लेके निकले, बंद फाटक के नीचे से झुक के हम बाहर निकले, सामने से गाड़ी आई उड़ा दी, घर वाले रेलवे पे क्लेम डालेंगे, पैसा दो, एक्सीडेंट हुआ ट्रेन से। गलती तुम्हारा भी, फाटक बंद था, तुमको पता है नहीं जाना चाहिए, स्टिल यू वेंट। सो सच केसेस एम्प्लॉयर विल बी नॉट लायबल फॉर एनी कॉम्पनसेशन, एम्प्लॉयर, है ना? सो just go through this. I'll put up this PDF also on the group so that you can refer it. Okay. And then calculation of compensation, we will talk tomorrow. Okay. So calculation of compensation and one another act we will review tomorrow. Correct?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you have any question, any doubt, let me know. I have put up this PDF. जो अभी हम देख रहे थे ना, I have put up that PDF on the group. And a summary also.
Okay, sir.
So, see, we will not be able to cover the entire law in totality, but certain laws with basic information of that law. As you will not be practicing it, you will not be able to remember the other way in any way. But still, you should know that what are different acts, and as and when the time permits, you need to refer it. It is an exclusive area of HR. Okay. Fine. So we'll see you tomorrow again.
Okay, sir.
In the evening, around 6:15, and we'll continue with calculation of compensation and another act. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank you, sir.